The Nilgiri, often referred to as the Nilgiri Hills, are a range of mountains in the westernmost part of Tamil Nadu state at the junction of Karnataka and Kerala states in southern India. They are at least 24 peaks above 2,000 meters. The mountains are part of the larger Western Ghats chain making up the southwestern edge of the Deccan Plateau. Location: the hills are separated from the Karnataka Plateau to the north by the Moya River and from the Anamalai Hills and Purni Hills to the south by the Palghat Gap. The Nilgiris district of Tamil Nadu lies within these mountains. Its latitudinal and longitudinal dimensions are 130 km by 185 km. Central location is 11 degree 22 euro squared 30 euro cubed and 76 degree 45 euro squared 30 euro cubed e. It has an area of 2,479 square kilometers. Conservation: the UNESCO World Heritage Committee has started evaluating the Western Ghats, Nilgiri sub-cluster for selection as a World Heritage Site. Such a site would include all of Nilgiri National Park in the southeastern corner of the Nilgiris. The Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve, which includes the Nilgiri Hills, forms part of the UNESCO World Network of Biosphere Reserves. History: the first recorded use of the word Nila applied to this region can be traced to 1117 AD in the report of a general of Vishnuvardhana, king of Hoysalas, who in reference to his enemies, claimed to have a Euro-Efrite in the Todas, driven the Kangas underground, slaughtered the Pallavas, put to death the Malayalas, terrified King Kala and then proceeded to offer the peak of Nila mountain to Lakshmi, goddess of wealth. The original inhabitants of the Nilgiri Hills were the Toda, Badaga, Kota, Irula, Moundadam Chetty and Kurumbas. The Nilgiri Hills were part of Chera Empire in ancient times. Later, the area came under the rule of the Western Ganga dynasty, and then Hoysala Empire in the 12th century. They then became part of the Kingdom of Mysore of Tipu Sultan, who later surrendered them to the British in the 18th century. In 1814, Mr. Keyes, a sub-assistant, and Mr. McMahon, an apprentice in the survey department, ascended the hills by the Danayankukota Pass, penetrated into the remotest parts, made plans, and sent in reports of their discoveries. As a result of these accounts, Messrs. Wish and Kindersley, two young Madras civilians, ventured up in pursuit of some criminals taking refuge in the mountains, and proceeded to reconnoitre the interior. They soon saw and felt enough favourable climate and terrain to excite their own curiosity and that of others. In 1819, John Sullivan, the British collector of Coimbatore, set out to explore the Nilgiris after obtaining an order from the British East India Company charging him to investigate the origin of the fabulous tales that are circulated concerning the Blue Mountains to verify their authenticity and to send a report to the authorities. With a detachment of Europeans and Indian sepoys, he set out on his mission on January 2, 1819. The journey involved crossing rough and harsh terrain, steep precipices and danger from wild animals. After an expedition that lasted for 6 days and loss of the lives of some of the expedition members, Sullivan finally reached a plateau from where he proudly hoisted the British flag. In May, 1819, the same tourists from Coimbatore, accompanied by Monsieur Lechnaut de Lautour, naturalist to the King of France, repeated their excursion. They asserted the temperature in the shade to be 74 degree Fahrenheit at a time when the temperature of the plains was up to 100 degree Fahrenheit. Such a climate within the tropics was considered so great an anomaly that few at first believed its existence. After the early 1820s, the hills were developed rapidly under the British Raj because most of the land was by then privately owned by British citizens. It was a popular summer and weekend getaway for the British during the colonial days. In 1827 Ooty became the official sanatorium and the summer capital of the Madras Presidency. Many winding hill roads were built. In 1899, the Nilgiri Mountain Railway was completed by influential and enterprising British citizens with venture capital from the Madras government. In the 19th century, when the British Straits Settlement shipped Chinese convicts to be jailed in India, the Chinese men then settled in the Nilgiri Mountains near Nadavatam after their release and married Tamil Parayan women, having mixed Chinese Tamil children with them. They were documented by Edgar Thurston. Parayan is also anglicized as pariah. Edgar Thurston described the colony of the Chinese men with their Tamil pariah wives and children, halting in the course of a recent anthropological expedition on the western side of the Nilgiri Plateau. In the midst of the government cinchona plantations, I came across a small settlement of Chinese, who have squatted for some years on the slopes of the hills between Neduvattam and Gudala, and developed, as the result of marriage with Tamil pariah women, into a colony, earning an honest livelihood by growing vegetables, cultivating coffee on a small scale, and adding to their income from these sources by the economic products of the cow. An ambassador was sent to this miniature Chinese court with a suggestion that the men should, in return for monies, present themselves before me with a view to their measurements being recorded. The reply which came back was in its way racially characteristic as between Hindus and Chinese. In the case of the former, permission to make use of their bodies for the purposes of research depends essentially on a pecuniary transaction, on a scale varying from 2 to 8 annas. The Chinese, on the other hand, though poor, sent a courteous message to the effect that they did not require payment in money, but would be perfectly happy if I would give them, as a memento, copies of their photographs. Thurston further described a specific family. The father was a typical Chinaman, whose only grievance was that, in the process of conversion to Christianity, he had been obliged to cut his tail off. The mother was a typical Tamil pariah of dusky hue. The color of the children was more closely allied to the yellowish tint of the father than to the dark tint of the mother. And the semimungal parentage was betrayed in the slant eyes, flat nose, and conspicuously prominent cheekbones. Thurston's description of the Chinese Tamil families was cited by others. One mentioned an instance mating between a Chinese male with a Tamil pariah female. A 1959 book described attempts made to find out what happened to the colony of mixed Chinese and Tamils. Peaks in the Nilgiris. Dodabata Peak, 4 km east-southeast from Udagamandalam, 11 degree 24 euro squared 10 euro cubed and 76 degree 44 euro squared 14 euro cubed d, with a height of 2,637 meters, is the highest point in the Nilgiris and the southern extent of the range. Kalarabeta, Hecuba, Katadod, and Kalkudai are closely linked peaks in the west of Dodabata range and nearby Udagamandalam. Snowdon, 11 degree 26 euro squared and 76 degree 46 euro squared e is the northern extent of the range. Club Hill, and Elk Hill, 11 degree 23 euro squared 55 euro cubed and 76 degree 42 euro squared 39 euro cubed d are significant elevations in this range. Snowdon, Club Hill and Elk Hill with Dodabata, form the impressive Udagamandalam Valley. Devashala, notable for its blue gum trees, is in the south of Dodabata range. Kulakambai, is east of the Devashala. The Bhavani Valley and the Lambton's Peak range of Coimbatore district stretch from here. Hulikal Durg, 11 degree 19 euro squared and 76 degree 53 euro squared e in the Kannada language. Hulikal Durg means Tiger Rock Fort. The Sanskrit name of his place is Bakisura Parvata. It is 3 km southeast of Kunad. Tropical pine forest flourishes at the base of this hill, while the valleys support green foliage. Kunadbeta is also called Tenerife. It is on the northern side of the gorge, accommodating the Nilgiri Mountain Railway to Kunad. Ralia Hill, 11 degree 25 euro squared and 76 degree 53 euro squared e is in the midst of a reserved forest and almost equidistant from Udagamandalam and Kotagiri. Damhati Hill, 11 degree 26 euro squared and 76 degree 01 euro squared e is above the Gajalahati Pass, which provided a shortcut from Mysore to the Carnatic Plains and was of much strategic importance in the 18th century. This peak, dedicated to the deity Rangasamy, is considered holy by the people of the surrounding villages. Nilgiris peaks in Nilgiri National Park, on the Nilgiri Plateau. The Kunda range of the Nilgiri Hills is a ridge on the southwestern side of Nilgiri National Park bordering Kerala. With elevations greater than the general level of the plateau, the range possesses some peaks close to the height of Dodabata. Avalanche Hill of this range has the twin peaks of Kudakad, and Kalarabeta. Durbeta, and Koilibeta, south of the Ukthlani Valley, are a continuation of the Kunda Range. Mukurthi Peak 2,554 meters, 11 degree 23 euro squared 29 euro cubed and 76 degree 31 euro squared 38 euro cubed Pikal Betta, and Nilgiri Peak, 11 degree 24 euro squared 0 euro cubed and 76 degree 30 euro squared 4 euro cubed are the important heights of this area. These three hills of the Wayanad district are generally low in relation to other heights of the district but are distinguished in relation to the generally uniform level of this area. Matunad Betta, 11 degree 27 euro squared and 76 degree 43 euro squared is about 5 km, north-northwest of Uttagamandalam. Tamrabata, 11 degree 22 euro squared and 76 degree 48 euro squared is about 8 km southeast of Uttagamandalam. Velangiri, is 16 km west-northwest of Uttagamandalam. List of peaks in the Nilgiri Hills. Waterfalls. The highest waterfall, Kolakumbai Fall, north of Kolakumbai Hill, has an unbroken fall of 400 feet. Nearby is the 150 feet Halashana Fall. Second is Catherine Falls, near Kotagiri, with a 250-foot fall, named after the wife of M.D. Coburn, believed to have introduced coffee plantations to the Nilgiri Hills. The upper and lower Paikara Falls have falls of 180 feet, and 200 feet, respectively. The 170 feet Kalhati Fall is off the Sagar Peak. The Karteri Fall, near Arubankad had the first power station which supplied the original cordite factory with electricity. Laws Fall, near Coonoor, is interesting due to its association with the engineer Major G. C. Law who supervised building of the Coonoor Road. Flora. Over 2,700 species of flowering plants, 160 species of fern and fern allies, countless types of flowerless plants, mosses, fungi, algae, land lichens are found in the sholas of the Nilgiris. No other hill station has so many exotic species. The Nilgiri tar animal can be found in the hills. Much of the Nilgiris natural montane grasslands and shrublands interspersed with sholas has been much disturbed or destroyed by extensive tea plantations, easy motor vehicle access and extensive commercial planting and harvesting of non-native eucalyptus and wattle plantations, acacia delbata, acacia mensa and cattle grazing. In addition there is one large, and several smaller hydroelectric impoundments in the area. Scotch broom has become an ecologically damaging invasive species. Threatened plants of the Nilgiris include the vulnerable species, Milius anilogirica, Notoprodites pneumoniana, Commelina whitea and rare species, Ceropegia decasenina, Ceropegia pusilla, Senecio condacus and endangered species, Younglia nilgirensis, Impatiens neobarnesia, Impatiens nilogirica, Euonymus angulatus and Euonymus serratifolius. Visitor information. The Nilgiri Hills can be reached by the Nilgiri Mountain Railway. The best trekking seasons are April-June and September-December. Application for trekking permits should be made in advance with the wildlife warden. References. External links, media related to Nilgiris at Wikimedia Commons, Rock Galleries, Frontline, Volume 24, Issue 12 June 16 to 29, 2007, The Chinese, Tea and the Nilgiris, Making of Wonton Soup in Nilgiris, Chindians of Nilgiris, Chinese Connection in Nilgiris Tourism, Indian History Carnival Euro 60, 5th Anniversary Edition.